Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Chairwoman Roybal Allard and Ranking Member Fleischman. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to share some ideas and offer up some requests to you on behalf of my community, El Paso, Texas. For the last 5 years, we've known that Central American families have been leaving their countries because of crushing poverty, starvation, violence, and persecution. The latest uptick in asylum seekers represents a significant increase in families arriving in El Paso, one that will likely continue and even increase, especially as the weather continues to warm. While I am very proud of El Paso's generosity and goodwill, the federal government has an obligation to help us with our growing local burden. The long-term solution to stemming this flow of people is addressing root causes in Central America. And until the president engages in any meaningful way on this front, I believe this is our new normal. So until we find a long-term solution, in the short term, border communities like El Paso need relief. That's why I'm asking the committee to urge Customs and Border Protection to allow non-governmental organizations to work in their processing centers in the fiscal year 2020. In the fiscal year 2020 Homeland Security Appropriations Bill. This would allow migrants to concurrently be processed and connected to sponsors immediately after their release. Here's what happens today. When asylum seekers are apprehended at the border, they are processed by Border Patrol. In other words, they're screened for their criminal background history and they're fingerprinted. They're then transferred to ICE and released into the community to make arrangements on their own to their final destination somewhere in the U.S., where they will remain with a sponsor as they await their asylum hearing. In order to get to their sponsor, these families need help. When they are released by ICE, they frequently only have the clothes on their back and their child in their arms. So in El Paso and in other border communities, local NGOs and the faith-based community step in to provide them with a place to stay. We call them hospitality centers, where they get fresh clothing, meals, medical attention, all provided via donations, and help arranging transportation to their final destination. Arranging transportation to their final destination takes between 24 to 48 hours. Because of the increasing numbers of migrants, our NGOs have had to supplement more than a dozen hospitality centers by renting hotels to accommodate the migrants and their families, spending almost $13,250 per week since January 31st, 2019. This is unsustainable. Allowing NGOs to have a presence inside CBP's processing centers in order to have concurrent processing, in other words, CBP does its processing while the NGO arranges for this transportation to their sponsors, this will ease the strain placed on localities, and I urge the committee to consider including this in the fiscal year 20 Homeland Security Appropriations Bill. My second request relates to bill language that would allow localities and NGOs the ability to be reimbursed for the humanitarian relief services we've been providing to migrants. I understand that the State Homeland Security Program and the Urban Area Security Initiative grants under the Federal Emergency Management Agency had the ability to do just that for fiscal years 13 through 17. I respectfully request that the committee consider once again allowing localities and NGOs reimbursements under FEMA. Communities along the southern border like mine must be able to respond quickly to the increasing number of migrant families with the peace of mind knowing that the federal government will help reimburse us for these costs. In my community, as stated above, Annunciation House, one of our NGOs, spends $13,000 a week to transport and shelter people. And this is above and beyond all of the generous volunteer donations of food, water, clothing, etc. While the Department of Homeland Security, we've been frustrated with the solutions brought forward so far, the reimbursement will help communities pick up the slack and continue to respond with generosity and kindness. My final request is connected to the migrant protection protocols announced by the administration on December 20th, 2018. We believe this is an ill-conceived policy which allows DHS to return migrants to Mexico for the remainder of their immigration proceedings. It's happened at San Isidro, and now it's happening at the El Paso Port of Entry. We are essentially asking that you defund MPP because it prevents asylum seekers from gaining due process by accessing their legal counsel and accessing their court date. I thank you very much for listening to my requests, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I just wanted to tell Representative Escobar, I had the privilege of traveling to El Paso about a month and a half ago. You represent a beautiful city with wonderful people. It was an honor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that you visited. Thank you.